Deadpool and Wolverine is bursting with surprise cameos from familiar faces, but one that's missing is TJ Miller's Weasel, and there seem to be multiple reasons for that. After verbally sparring with the Merc with a Mouth in Deadpool and Deadpool 2, Miller was apparently left with a sour taste in his mouth. Fans of the delightfully profane franchise that Ryan Reynolds has so lovingly nurtured have really only heard one side of Reynolds and Miller's beef, relying on Miller's word when it comes to Reynolds' purported transgressions. Miller's Weasel was Deadpool's bartender bud who routinely exchanged barbs with the mutant hero.
Wow. Mother***, you the world's worst friend.
During a 2022 appearance on The Adam Carolla Show, Miller said he became convinced that Reynolds despised him while they were riffing together during a scene. Miller said Reynolds went too far with one of his ad-libs, calling the jab horrifically mean.
He was like, you know what's great about you, Weasel? You're not the star, but you do just enough exposition that it's funny, and then we can leave and get back to the real movie.
Miller claimed that others on the set, including his wife, found the interaction uncomfortable and strange. He also had a few ideas about why Reynolds supposedly wanted to humiliate him. Miller accused Reynolds of getting a big head after the success of the first Deadpool movie and suggested that the witty, affable personality Reynolds presents to the public isn't genuine.
You know, I think he's kind of an insecure dude.
Miller also theorized that his own comedic chops might have sparked envy. Carolla mentioned the duo's comedic back and forth was one of his favorite parts of the movies, and Miller contended that must have frustrated Reynolds. Miller likewise said he had no interest in working with Reynolds again. He also took one more dig at his former co-star by insinuating that director Michael Bay, who directed Reynolds in the film Six Underground, doesn't think very highly of Reynolds either.
And Michael Bay worked on a movie with Ryan Reynolds also. And so he has a very specific opinion.
However, Miller was singing a slightly different tune on SiriusXM's Jim Norton and Sam Roberts show only about a week later. He said Reynolds had reached out to him in an apologetic email. Miller said Reynolds was really cool about it and added,
It was a misunderstanding.
But by that time, though, there was already zero hope of Miller getting cast in another Deadpool movie, and it had nothing to do with any on-set hurt feelings. In December 2017, a woman told the Daily Beast that Miller had sexually assaulted her in college, striking her in the face and strangling her. Miller denied the claims. Filming was already completed on Deadpool 2, and Miller was not cut out of the movie. In a 2018 interview with the New York Times, Reynolds refused to share his thoughts about Miller, who had also been arrested for calling in a false bomb threat. Reynolds did, however, say that Weasel would not be appearing alongside Deadpool in the planned and later scrapped X-Force movie. The bomb threat charges against Miller were dropped in 2021. Reynolds' promise of a Weasel-less sequel did come to pass with Deadpool and Wolverine, though. In a 2023 interview on the All Good Things podcast with Jason Nash, Miller complained about Access Hollywood host Mario Lopez cutting an interview with him short because he refused to talk about the movie, which he wasn't in.
And I'm like, I can't talk about that.
It seemed Miller was still holding a bit of a grudge against Reynolds when he went on the Help with Natalie Cuomo podcast in April 2024. He once again claimed that Reynolds started acting differently after the first Deadpool was such a big hit.
People get really famous and then things get really weird.
It's debatable that Deadpool was the project that made Reynolds really famous, though. He had been in several successful comedies before that, such as The Proposal.